I will be talking about thoracic full endoscopic decompression for the ossification of ligamentum flavum causing a myelopathy. So thoracic myelopathy is a very serious condition and it leads to neurological impairment and progressive myelopathy. Mainly it is caused by the ossification of ligamentum flavum, thoracic disc herniation or OPLL, but it may be due to trauma, infection or some other etiology. Many approaches has been described to treat all this pathology, starting from laminectomy, transpedicular, transfacet approach or a transthoracic approach. But these all approaches are very morbid and they are associated with damage to the normal surrounding tissue rather than targeting the only pathology. So majority of this pathology can be tackled with the endoscopy. All the posterior by doing a interlaminar, all the anterior to cord pathology can be tackled with the transforaminal endoscopy. So I will like to say that the monoportal endoscopy is actually doing a surgical strike on the pathology. If we have to send our commando to the terrorist camp, it is difficult for them to go through the jungle and rivers. But if we drop directly them over where the pathology is, the casualty is less and the outcome is more superior. So similar thing we do in the monoportal endoscopy, that we bypass all the normal structure and we strike directly where the pathology is. So that is the advantage of this technique. So as you can see in this picture, that if we have to do this single level decompression for the OLF, the open surgery is very devastating. It damages the muscles, bones, may require a fixation sometime, but similar outcome can be achieved with just 8 or 9 millimeter incision. And you can see the reach of endoscope from ipsilateral to the contralateral side. Everything can be easily assessed with this. So it is a very advantageous procedure. So aims and objectives of our study, that endoscopy has been very well accepted for the lumbar pathologies. So to describe the technique of full endoscopic decompression for the OLF, record the outcome and evaluate its safety and efficacy. So 5 patients were we have studied who has a single level thoracic OLF. Modified JOS score was used for the preoperative, postoperative and follow-up outcome. 10, 11 and 11, 12 was the most common level. The surgical technique involves, the most important thing is the planning. So planning, that is the most important thing. Then we have to identify the correct trajectory, and lever marking and localization is very important in a thoracic spine. So it has to be checked twice. After that, all the steps are similar as we do in a lumbar spine, that unilateral laminectomy for the bilateral decompression, and I will be showing that in the video. So this is a general OR setup similar to what we do in the lumbar spine. The C-arm is the localization tool we use, but if you have a navigation, then it is a better. It provide accurate level and it also help in the confirmation of post-operative decompression intra-op only. These are the various type of endoscope which can be used. These are the various instruments. The most important instrument here is the high-speed bar, because in the OLF the bone work is very high. So this is a one case example, 58 male, D1112 OLF with progressive myelopathy. You can see that significant compression over the cord. So the first step, the level marking with the needle and checking it again in the lateral. Trocal placement, scope placement. The first step is the clearing the soft tissue and starting the burr of the cranial lamina. Once the cranial lamina is burred, you can see that the flavum has been separated from there. Then we do the over the top and the contralateral burring work. And after that, once it is separated from all the sides, you can see that once we remove the ligament of flavum, we can visualize the cord very easily. So this is the final picture, and you can see the C-arm image, that at that single level with the endoscope we can reach to the every corner of that particular level. You can see that, and this is a post-operative MRI and a CT scan which shows that the adequate decompression of the canal has been achieved. This is another case of a D1011 OLF. Non-continuous type and myelopathy, and these are the same step again. I won't be showing that, but I would like to show this, that we can effectively burr lateral to the OLF mass very precisely with the control, and separation of the OLF mass from the dura is also very much possible with the help of endoscopy. The saline medium help in this, and then we can remove the OLF mass en bloc, and after that the final decompression can be achieved, as you can visualize in the last video. So this is the post-operative CT scan and the MRI, which shows that the beautiful decompression of the canal has been achieved. So our result shows that there was a significant improvement in MJOA from 6.4 pre-op to the 9 at final follow-up. No major complication. One dural tear which was treated conservatively. Initial neurological worsening in one patient, that also recovered at the final follow-up. These are the data of all the 5 patients. So the limitation is that it requires a steep learning curve. Margin of error is very negligible here. Wrong level surgery can happen. Inadequate decompression may require a revision surgery. So to conclude, interlaminar full endoscopy is safe and effective. It provides speedy recovery and ability to visualize, illuminates and magnify the area of working and burr precisely with good control near the neural tissue is the biggest advantage of full endoscopy over the other techniques of the spine surgery. So key takeaway, planning is the key. Do enough surgeries before attempting thoracic pathology, respect the learning curve and then only venture into this. So it can be done, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rohit. We may now invite Dr. Amrit Ji. He will talk on the bitubular approach, adding an extra port to the monoportal part.
So, good afternoon. So, my topic of presentation to address the thoracic OLF with the UBE technique. So, we already went, Dr. Rohit has presented very well regarding the monoportal technique. So, what is exactly OLF? Is the ossification of ligament flabum that is most commonly found in the lower thoracic regions, and it is more common in the East Asian population, mostly Japanese, Korean and Taiwan population. Most of the cases accompany lumbar canal stenosis as well. So there are two theories that were put forward for the OLF. One is the intrinsic factor theory, that is genetic and dietary factor, that was when it was prevalent in the Japanese population. Extrinsic factors mainly is the biomechanical alteration, whereas the intrinsic tensile force at 8 and 11 level leads to the development of various growth factors. Then fibers get differentiated into osteoblasts through uncontrolled ossification. So to describe the ossification, the ligament flagellum is basically divided into two parts. That is one, the capsular portion and interlaminar portion. In the ossification, it begins for the capsular portion, goes to the interlaminar portion, and the transverse plane, it begins from the posterior side and progresses to the dural side. So these are the various risk factors like squatting positions, passage stages that predispose to the thoracic OLF. We already know the SATO classification of the radiological classification of this OLF, and also we know the dural ossification that is associated with OLF. So there are three telltale signs of dural ossification, that is tramp track sign, coma sign and breathe sign. So most of the cases, the surgical decompression is the only options, conservative is not done. The open surgery either posterior thoracic laminectomy with or without fusion and fenestration, and minimally invasive surgery include percutaneous endoscopic thoracic decompression and UBE decompression. So this is the advantage UBE decompression, ability to clear and magnified surgical view, decreased post-op instability and back pain, independent movement of surgical instruments and endoscope. The anesthetic in general anesthesia, patient in the prone position. The intraoperative neuromonitoring can be used to utilize any intraoperative injury. There is the common instrument that is used for the technique. We have 0 and 4 mm endoscopes, varicose severant drills, RA probe, curette and scalpel hand and serial dilators. This is a level marking by applying the needle and fluoroscopy, and inject methylene blue or indigo carbon dye can be used to confirm the corrected level. So this is basically two incisions for endoscope and instruments. The lower one is for the endoscope, upper one for the working portal if it is on the left sided. So tunneling with the blunt tip, scalpel and dilator is done. Apply plastic cannula for both the portals. This is the plastic palpable and lamina interlaminar space and tunnel to creating the working space. So we have divided the technique into various stages. Like drilling stage is when we have to identify the midline. So external drilling is cranial to the origin of the ligament flabum, caudally to the lower lamina, right and left to the superior articular process. The ligament flabum is removed either en bloc, piecemeal method depending upon the position. So this picture shows the safe zone regarding the that is outside the pedicle's medial wall beyond ligament flabum attachment. There is safe zone for drilling. Intermittent risk zone includes the normal flabum, no spinal cord compression, but high risk zone is thoracic OLF causing spinal cord compression. So that should be last to be handled with the dura. So all dangerous margins must be confirmed before the thoracic OLF removal. Avoid early exposure of dura, avoid drilling when osseous ligament flabum is islanded, and avoid using sharp tools as much as possible. Instead utilize blunt tools to pull upwards. So coming to the case, we have an 81-year-old male patient. He presented with ataxia, numbness and weakness of lower extremity in 2 months. On physical examination, there were findings of upper motor neuron indication. On the MRI pictures, we can see, and CT scan, we can see thoracic OLF at T9 and T10 level. So this is the plan that we went at for the UB surgery. So we can see here. This is the drilling of the ipsilateral lamina part from the lower part. The cranial part drilling is going on. We are going to the lateral to the medial side. This is on the opposite side that we are drilling. The drilling continues. Now we can see the clear picture. The complete dura has been cleared of the ligament flabum. So this is the post-operative CT scan MRI. That was complete removal of the OLF. So operative time is around 60 minutes with 50 ml of blood loss. The patient will discharge on POD 7. Patient can ambulate independently with on tape POD 2. So thoracic hypermobility can lead to OLF. In this case, UBE surgery that preserves muscle and fascia joints is advantage in terms of stabilization. By using preoperative imaging to identify the safety zone and danger zone, surgery can be performed more safely and efficiently. And when removing OLF, various methods such as piecemeal and en bloc can be used depending on the severity of the condition. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amrit. May I now invite Dr. Harshit Dave. He'll speak on full endoscopic technique in outcome in 16 patients.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll be speaking on advancing thoracic spine care, full endoscopic solution and outcome in 16 patients. Thoracic spine disorders, though relatively uncommon, can lead to significant disability, and advances has shifted from traditional open surgeries to minimal invasive full endoscopic spine surgeries. Anterior pathologies are better addressed via transforaminal route, and posterior pathologies are managed by interlaminar route. So in our study, 16 patients were included who underwent full endoscopic spine surgery for thoracic spine pathologies between 2019 to 2023. Among them, 7 had disc herniations, 4 had canal stenosis, 3 had ossified ligamentum flavum, 1 had OLF at 2 levels, and 1 had both calcified disc herniation and OLF at different levels. Transforaminal approach was used for 8 disc herniations, while interlaminar approach was used for 10 levels in patients with canal stenosis and OLF. Our cohort consisted of 10 male, 6 female with mean age of 48 years. Most common treated level was D10-11, followed by D11, D12, D8, D9, D5, D6, followed by D9, D10, and 1 case of D2, D3. 2 patients required surgery at 2 levels. Of the 8 disc herniations, 50% were calcified, more common calcification in dorsal than lumbar. And the mean operative time was 88 minutes for single level interlaminar decompression and 104 minutes for single level transforaminal decompressions. Among 10 patients with preoperative myelopathy, 7 showed significant neurological improvement, 1 experienced transient weakness and spasticity which resolved by 3 months, and 1 showed no change in neurological status. 6 patients with radiculopathy had good symptomatic relief, and 1 had some persistent paresthesia that showed improvement within 6 months. No other serious complications were observed. So now coming to techniques and case illustrations. Interesting case, 31 years old male presented with bilateral lower limb weakness, difficulty in walking since 6 months, bowel bladder incontinence. On examination, power was grade 2 and loss of sensations below D8, exaggerated reflexes and severe lower limb spasticity. This was his preoperative MRI showing D8, D9 calcified disc and D10, D11 ossified yellow ligament that was confirmed on CT scan. If you would have planned him for an open surgery, it would have been a very extensive one. This is what we planned for: D8, D9 full endoscopic discectomy through left-sided transforaminal approach and 10-11 through right-sided interlaminar approach. Transforaminal approach is more difficult as compared to lumbar region because of the narrow foramen and narrow spinal canals, and it's very easy that you will be lost, and sometimes ribs come in between. So ideally your trajectory has to be preoperatively calculated either on a preoperative CT scan or preoperative MRI. The distance from the midline as well as the trajectory, that's the ideal way to go forward. So this is what we did: D8, D9 transforaminal decompression. Our midline, the distance of the needle entry point was 8 centimeter from the midline. This was docking in the foramen. Once you start seeing the bone, the first bone that comes forward is inferior articular process. Once you drill it, you see superior articular process. Once you drill the superior articular process, you see the epidural fat, and the bone below the epidural fat is the calcified disc, which you can remove piecemeal, or you can detach it from both the end plates and remove piecemeal, remove en bloc. Interlaminar approach is more straightforward. The only difference from lumbar is you need more drilling and you don't see the interlaminar space. You have to start with the bone drilling. Detailed, Dr. Rohit has already discussed in the first lecture. So this was our post-operative results. This patient recovered completely at the end of 1 month. And you can see the post-op MRIs. This is the second case, failed conservative management, right-sided radiculopathy since 2 years. We planned for right-sided transforaminal approach, and that was our entry point, docking of the sleeve at the foramen. And in this video, you can see the pulsations after an adequate decompression, nicely pulsating thecal sac. So this is post-op and MRI showing complete clearance of the disc fragment. Another case, 10D11 ossified yellow ligament, patient with myelopathy, and this was our approach, just one stitch, interlaminar approach. We removed end block removal of ossified yellow ligament was done, and in the video you can see a very well decompressed thecal sac, both sides from top to bottom. And this is post-operative MRI, complete clearance, no residual stenosis. Another case, 2-level ossified yellow ligament, and both levels we removed, end block removal of the ossified yellow ligament was done. And this is the final picture, final endoscopic picture after the decompression, and this is post-operative MRI. So full endoscopy has a big role in dorsal spine as well, transforaminal approach for anterior pathologies, interlaminar approach for posterior pathologies, and these are complementary to each other, can't replace each other. Thank you.